music, motivation, and positively obnoxious. That's me.
It's the Tony Gebhard Show! Hey guys, this is the Tony Gebhard Show, and we're back in season 2, and I've actually got a really cool friend of mine, old friend of mine that I haven't talked to in, I want to say it's been about 5 years, and you know him as Sam Tupy. He is the developer of Survive the Wild, Constant Motion, and other fun titles like that. And he's probably the coolest geek that I know. As far as what he does for the community, and just overall, he's got a unique personality, and he's in the studio with me today. So, Sam, what's going on?
Hello. I'm excited to be here. I think
yeah,
it's gonna
dude.
be a really fun podcast.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you. Now, we were just talking before we started recording about Convention 2018 down in Orlando.
Yeah. We briefly saw each other there.
We did briefly. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Uber Eats runs.
Yep. That was why I went to the conventions. I never managed to go there for the convention. I always only managed to go there for the people. So
yeah,
it worked out.
It did work out. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was you, me, Carter. I think Matthew Monius was around there. And some of our other crew that we had spent time around at the time. But overall, no, it was really cool. And
for sure.
But listen, I just want to get the elephant out of the room, right? Survive the Wild, it's made a comeback, hasn't it?
It's working on it. I'd say the beast has a couple of the legs under it. It's still stumbling to its feet, I like to say at this point, but it's definitely working on it. Yeah, I started it a long time ago, worked on it for a little while, but then kind of teenage life and other game projects really took a lot of my focus away. And now that I don't have school, now that I've kind of stripped away some of those other projects, I realize how much potential there is in Survive the Wild, and I've been trying to clean it up and really make it something cool for everyone to enjoy. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of a kind. I mean, there's no other game like it as far as, our blind world is concerned. And not only that, but I mean, you got a pretty dedicated player base, including myself.
Yeah, I definitely like the players playing is really the thing that inspires me to keep going. I mean, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for the players, and all of my staff members were players, so
yeah,
it is really because of the players, and then some of them become staff members, but it's because of everybody who helps me out that this game is a thing. I really couldn't do it without the anything from the players' support to the staff members. We wouldn't be here without any of you guys, so I really appreciate every one of you.
Bam, there's that love. Sam is dropping some love on everybody. Man, well, that is just so cool. And I gotta say, being a part of the Survive the Wild community is really special. And I've found to feel a lot more comfortable, very very safe. I can be transparent, and also meet a bunch of new people, right, from all over the world, not just the U.S., but all over the world. I mean, you have in total, registered 700-800 plus players or more?
I think on the Discord, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got the range, you've got the diversity there, and I mean, something I talk about a lot, right, in my YouTube channel is the law of attraction, or what it is that you think, the things that you put out, right, the results will follow, right? So I think you encompass that in a lot of ways.
I don't know. All I can really say is I was younger and I read the Hatchet, like the Gary Paulson books. And I was just like, ooh, this would be cool. And I play Alterion right now, and other mods are very, I didn't really feel immersed because it was only text.
Amen.
And then I tried playing like Swamp, and no disrespect to Swamp. Prones worked hard. That's a great game. But it doesn't, when I played it, I was like, I don't feel immersed. There's no ambient sounds.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm in the world.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I felt like I could maybe do better. And so that was really my immersion, was one of my larger goals for sure, was just to make something with ambience where, every time somebody takes a step, you hear that step.
Right.
Every time does something, you actually hear it, where there's no
Oh
massive
yeah.
issues. And that was really all my dream. Like I imagine when I was like younger, like 11 or 12, jumping outside on the trampoline. I just imagine, oh yeah, it'd be really cool if there's some project where like I can voice chat with my friends and actually hear them from where they are. And
Yeah.
so now that was just kind of where it all started. But I didn't really, I didn't only knew BGT and a little bit of programming or whatever. So, but now I definitely thank God that all those dreams have somehow come true.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Like,
In a way they have, right? And in so many ways they have, because
yeah.
Survive the Wild, I was just telling a friend of mine the other day, I find like I log on to STW sometimes just to relax, even, right? It's a therapy at some points. Like I'll just teleport to the castle up on the northwestern tower and I'm like, all right, no one's going to bother me. I turn off my trusts. No one can watch me.
Just like the ambience. Yeah, sometimes I definitely like. So like usually it's more like no one can tell, like I'm using like a private character or something, but sometimes I'll definitely relax privately there,
Yeah.
just listening to the ambience and the music when I don't generate my own, because it saves you the trouble. Oh yeah, let's go find some background stuff to listen to while I work, or do
The
whatever.
music's always there. And the music, what's really cool was like the music changes for for day and night, when you're sleeping, or when you change different landscapes all across the map. Like it's different each time. So you don't really get sick of the same in-game music the whole time, because it's always going to be different. Which, by the way, I think my favorite right now is the music you get right over there by the mining settlement, right on the south side of the mountain. That nice guitar, really like just avant-garde. I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Well, it was Amin who made most of our music selection, so you got to thank him for that.
Hey, amen. And you got a great staff too, by the way. I'll second your comments there. Just really good people, very calm, very nice, and just able to swoop in when they need to. So
just the amount that they do for so little is incredible.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And you've, to a certain extent, I mean, let's talk about this. And if you're uncomfortable, just let me know. We'll cut it. Blah blah blah. Yeah. But I know that you've managed to make somewhat of a living off of Survive the Wild too.
Right. Yeah. No.
Which is unheard of for developers in the blind world.
Well, and if you talk about appreciating the players, I mean, there's just another reason why. I mean, I never intended for that to happen. And honestly, I just kind of have this feeling that that's probably why it happened, is partially at least because I didn't intend for it to. I wasn't coming in with the idea of, oh yeah, let's make big bucks. Like literally what happened, I can literally trace it back. I was at the Minnesota State Academy for the Blind, and I was talking to one of my friends in gym class, and he was like, and I told him about my game, and he's like, oh, are there microtransactions in there? I'm like, what are microtransactions? And he's like, oh yeah, dude, video games have microtransactions. He goes on to explain what those are. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And so then at that time I was like, oh, everybody around me, they're doing odd jobs. They can at least get, they can drive around, get snacks, get little things here and there. And it would be cool to just be able to do that. I wasn't expecting to make very much, but I was like, oh yeah, it would be cool to just, have $20 here and there to get some candy bars and some, a meal or whatever. So I implemented the initial version of the store, and man, it blew up, to say the least. In a way I could have never expected. It's still pretty crazy to me to this day how that worked out. I don't know.
Oh man, you'll have my business for sure. And
I definitely thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, and my favorite thing is, there's a lot of players on there. There's a lot of players on there, who aren't, unfortunately in the position to buy credit. So I see it as a really fun opportunity, to sponsor, to do giveaways, to, give people, that opportunity to be like, oh my gosh, I can buy this now. Right.
For sure. That's why there's gifting. And I'm going to say something that I sometimes it's pretty rare, and I don't like to tell people that I do it because I don't want people to ask, but there have been times where an anonymous like a player will run into an anonymous character who gives them, some stuff that, shouldn't be there. I I have I pretended, oh yeah, I'm just a player and it was my birthday and I have a little bit of extra credit, so I'm going to give you something. And so sometimes it's rare, but sometimes I'll give players some stuff that way and they never know. So that's kind of fun.
Oh, see, and that's the little secret Santa. There you go. Little secret Santa.
Yeah, it's sorry.
Wow. No worries.
Oh yeah, sorry. No,
You're fine. No, we can always edit, so you're totally fine. Let me know when you're all good.
I wasn't. No, I'm good. I wasn't trying to say anything. I think we both thought we were trying to say something. That's so we both.
I thought you were typing like you had an important message come in or something. I was like, wait, what? No. It's all good. No worries. Okay. But no, I think that's just so cool, right? And it shows the gratitude, I think, in some ways, because, I mean, I'm biased for sure, and I know the humility will probably stand strong, but I think you're probably one of the top tier developers right now in our audio game space, just for... Constant Motion, by the way, that was a really fun game. I did a video on that a number of months ago. That was a lot of fun to play. And, I got some cool vibes from that, and it's just little mini games here and there. Collect, don't die, all that fun jazz.
Just something I gotta rewrite that game entirely. It's just a little concept demo right now. But yeah, it seems that people are enjoying that. So I definitely might, probably going to get to that at some point once I'm done making the beast, as it were, be in a position where it can rest for a little bit.
Sure. Well, I mean, and you're a single human being. You've got a life, you've got other things going on, as does anybody. So, just having that point of priority, right? Point of priority, and then kind of just knocking the ticks off one at a time. So.
Oh yeah.
No. But listen, sure, man. Here. Oh, go ahead. Finish your statement.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have a lot of plans for Survive the Wild, and I don't really want to get too distracted. So that's why I've been focusing just on that for a while. Like Constant Motion, I had coded that years ago, and then I just released it. And so it just like because Survive the Wild went down, I was like, oh yeah, I have this old thing from years ago, I'll release it. But so that's why I haven't been working on it for a while. Is because I just have so many plans for Survive the Wild, and I already got distracted for years earlier. And then, as you said earlier, I mean, Survive the Wild's allowed me to get 2 apartments. So the only way I can really give back is to make sure that people enjoy their experience playing. So
absolutely. And I don't think
a lot longer than intended.
No, for sure. And I think you've more than let me rephrase that. I think you've moreover, have just filled that cup more times than I think you realized. And I think that's why there's such a level of appreciation from the player base. But transitioning over here, so I've been talking with a lot of my guests lately about AI. And, I've had Liam on here. Jessica Tenner was on here not too long ago. My great friend Matthew, and just all these, content creators and innovators in the blind world. And I'm curious.
I just started listening, barely, but I listened to the one with Matthew Whitaker.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he is an awesome guy. Big shout out to him. He's on tour right now on the East Coast, so he's phenomenal. Just he makes me look like a tiny person when it comes to music.
Well, I got to start listening to all y'all's music. I listen to music from royalty-free music libraries and like Christian music and leave it at that.
So hey, and you're a faith man. That's cool. We'll have to talk more about that. That's so cool, man. Amen.
It's a pretty recent thing. Like when I was younger, it was a thing. Then it wasn't a thing. Now it's a thing again. So yeah, it's
life's a journey, man. Every day life's a journey. You learn something new about yourself, and just opening ourselves up to that faith. And really just giving our life to it. So
no, definitely, you were talking. Lately I've been trying to definitely attribute a lot of my successes to God. Instead of to me. I don't think I could have done them. I don't think I would have succeeded if it wasn't for that. So.
Yeah, well, he gave you the tools in a lot of ways. Right, he helped you. He helps give you the tools to be able to do it. So
Yeah, that's definitely one of my. Whenever I finish coding something and I start enjoying it, I'm like, huh, how much of this is because of me and how much of this is because of him?
right, yeah, amen. Yeah, I'm the same way when I finish an album. You know, I'm just like, wow, did I
It's a
do
very
that?
common feeling
You
now.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. But listen, man, AI's
Yeah,
been taking over
AI.
the universe recently, and just first things first. What's your opinion on it of where we are right now with like Dolly AI, GPT-4, all these
I
all these
don't hardly know. I
it's going, it's fast. It's happening fast.
right. It's going too fast for me to like fully form an opinion on it. I just think of a lot of like I get like one of my first thoughts when it happened or when it came, I was like, what about schooling? How are people going to learn anymore when they can just tell a computer program to write their stuff? How is there going to be protection against that? I just kind of started thinking of all these questions like how is the world going to function? But I think it will. You know, there's probably going to be some AI program later that can tell whether content was written by AI to
Oh,
some
and they're
extent.
already working on that AI detection software. Yeah, they've
Uh-huh.
been getting on top of that pretty quick, which is pretty
Yeah.
smart.
But I have been using it a little bit. Like I've only really used Chat GPT, but I have used it for some like coding answers and stuff
Yeah.
because it's so much like
It's
I
great,
mean
isn't it? It's amazing.
I gotta give a huge shout out to the developer of NVDA out of all people really quick. Those developers who learned how to program because their father, I believe, read books to them, programming books that they recorded on tape, and
Wow.
then they would have to go through the tape and listen to them. So I just when imagining what they had to go through, yeah,
Can you
compared to
read,
what
Dad? Can you read me the book on C++ again?
yeah, yeah, and I gotta get this working. I'm gonna go rewind my cassette tape to. I cannot
Oh,
imagine coding
wow.
like that. So then I had Google and I used that for a few years, but now it's it's so much easier to just ask an AI to do 10 Google searches for you rather than dealing with a bunch of inaccessible web pages,
Yeah.
going through a bunch of jargon on Stack Overflow and
Yeah.
you know people's opinions and stuff like that. I can just get the answer directly that I need so long as I'm careful and confidently wrong, as long as I keep that kind of thing in mind.
Sure.
Then I can
Absolutely.
get a lot of use out of it.
So here's a bone I'll throw you. One thing that I've really found super just innovative with Chat GPT is, so I'm an influencer on YouTube, and what I found to be really fun is I'll use Chat GPT to help build social media and content calendars for me. So there's this new feature in GPT that essentially you can write in like up to 5,000 characters. You can tell it about yourself, what kind of information you want, tailor it specifically to you and your career, this, and that. So I was like, okay, let me mess with this. So I sat down and I wrote down all that information. And then I asked it a question to help tailor a month-long content creator program for me. And bada boom, bada bing, within 10 seconds, I had an entire calendar worth of all the content that fits exactly what it is that I'm doing. And it just took me maybe 10 minutes to do everything. And the way that I'm framing it, right? Because a lot of things are about framing, is I'm not lazy. I just need an assistant so that I can focus on the work. Right? Everything else, the research, of course I'm doing the research. We're still doing the work. It's just the manual paperwork side of things that it's there to help us do. Like it's like
Well,
hiring a secretary.
Well, I mean, I wonder if this argument was a thing like 40 years, whenever the home computer started to take off. I wonder how many people are like, oh, you don't go to the library and look in your books or whatever. You're being lazy for using a computer and using. So in a sense, it might be the same. It might kind of be the same thing there. One thing that I was actually just talking to the Survive the Wild staff members about this recently. I was like, we should use AI to do meeting notes, like transcription, because we have long meetings on Team Talk.
I have a great app for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, really?
Yeah, I have a great app for you. I just started using it for work, and it's called Audio Notes Audio Notes AI. And you can upload a file and it will transcribe the whole thing for you within 30 seconds, and you can even have it summarize it in bullet points.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
It's
We
amazing.
talk about so many things in those conversations, and we remember about 20% of it.
Oh yeah.
Because we talk about so many. Oh, like we should do this. Oh yeah, this is really annoying players. But then we're gonna move on because this much bigger thing is going.
Yeah, there you go.
Players, right? So
right.
In that sense, it could be really cool as well.
Oh my gosh, for sure. Yeah.
And I have another very. If you're talking about AI, I thought of a fascinating use for it a couple months ago.
Shoot.
That I think maybe you'll find interesting. I was wanting to combine the screenplay of a movie which describes what the actors are doing with the script that describes exactly what the dialogue is, and you know, the screenplays also have general timing information and subtitles, stuff like that, to see if I could get AI to write audio described tracks for content.
See, oh my god. So I love it. First of all, just amazing. And so Be My Eyes, right? With their recent Be My AI. Have you gotten into
I haven't tried it yet.
You gotta get it. Get it. Because they're using computer vision mixed with GPT-4, and it will literally describe an image to you in like intricate detail, like nothing I've ever seen before. And I'm just thinking to myself, if GPT-4 and this computer vision technology can work on these still images, like in such detail, imagine what we can do if we can, formulate an AI, which I'm sure is in, alpha somewhere, right?
Yeah, someone's
somewhere it's being worked on, that will be able to do the same thing with a video. Because let's be honest, as blind creators and just blind consumers, there's so many videos out there that have just music, right? No dialogue, blah, blah, blah. And
how do I do this thing in Reaper? Okay, let's click on the video. And
it's just mouse clicks and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you get a little sound because they've added little animations.
Yeah, exactly. So we are in a new era of technology right now where like people who are growing up right now in high school are just learning such new ways of attracting information, because it's like, how old are you? 22, 21?
Yeah, 21.
Okay. Yeah, so like you think back when we were in middle school, elementary school, none of this existed. AI, the furthest AI had gone was maybe Siri.
Well, and I got my first computer when I was 11.
Yeah.
So none of it. I was using cassettes and stuff for a while.
Amen.
I was pretty
behind. That's so crazy, man. You and I, like, I can think back on our friendship from years and years ago. We didn't talk a ton, but I know we crossed paths many a times.
Oh yeah, 2013, 14, little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just so cool that we can get a chance to reconnect and just share this wealth of information. But also just look at your successes, man. It's okay to pat yourself on the back and be like, yeah.
Thanks. It's been a very crazy slog for these last couple years trying to fix up, because I made so many. It's so weird. One of the things I always try to get past now is how I made so many decisions when I was a teenager in code or whatever that I now have to undo. That's sometimes hard to reconcile with. Oh yeah, I spent months and months writing this thing, and not only has it caused years worth of headache, but now we're gonna rip it out and do something else.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, but it's overall it's great, and I have faith that there's gonna be a reward in the end. That is
easily
so worth it.
Oh, like, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the time when I myself am ready to go post on a whole bunch of forums. Everyone who's not played my game for a while, you should try now because we fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's so crazy. I'm not to use the position that I'm in to say this, but I was talking to some players on the game a while back, and I was just kind of getting in my mind a little bit of such these ideas, because I'm always thinking of just these innovations, or just thinking of these fun ways to further my experience in the situation. And I'm a bit of a geek, so I went crazy with it. And I was like, it would be kind of cool to make a prehistoric island with dinosaurs, because I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park. And I love
It's funny that you had mentioned that. Actually, there's nothing in design right now, but before the beta launched, I was trying to add a bunch of like NPC sounds to the game, and that's actually hard.
Oh,
like,
I bet.
Good animal recordings, they're really hard to find. And so, but there were these things from Boom Library. There were like designed creatures, and there was a lot of prehistoric stuff. And I added them all there, and I was like, oh, well, I guess world makers have literally everything they need to make every boss that they need.
Yeah.
So now I focus on smaller animals after that. But yeah, no, I definitely think that some like larger creatures and some like the world's going to be massive. Like the world is 250,000 by 250,000 tiles wide.
I knew it was something crazy. Because like there would be multiple times where I pull up my map. I'm like, let's see if I can find the edge of the ocean here. 2 hours later,
I think you can press as a player. I think you can press C in the map actually to see where you are, like the coordinate.
Oh,
like
that's cool. Yeah, nice.
It's a smaller version, but you can see how like far from the edge you are.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
I believe you can, unless it's an admin command, in which case I much apologize, but I do not believe it is. So I think we're good there.
Okay, fantastic. Well, man, that's just so cool. Like I'm motivated by you, man. I think it's really just super inspiring to see it.
I think likewise, honestly, I've been listening to your stuff and it's making like, oh yeah, I want to make me do some stuff.
That's awesome. I love it. That's the gift. I feel like that we should embrace more and more in our community is the love and the, giving back to other people, just really bringing each other in because, as it stands, we're a minority group. We're a minority group within a minority group, right? Because you have the disabled community, but then you have the blindness community. And I think the more that people like us and other top, I wouldn't say top tier, but, just people who've kind of gone through those experiences and absorbed that knowledge and experience of going through life, the more we can mentor and hand that down to people who are coming up, after us. And I don't know, because I think about it. It's like I want the next person who's going to do the same thing I'm doing to do it 10 times better than me.
Right, and to not go through the same pain that I'm going through.
Exactly. Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. We want them to thrive, to be 10 times better, to accomplish 10 times better, and make 10 times much more. I don't make money on YouTube. Get out of here,
This is why I'm planning to, at some point, I'm not sure, I have a lot of decisions to make about it and stuff, but this is why I'm planning to, at some point in the future, share the engine that Survive the Wild runs on more so other people can make games with all my, I did all the work to get this engine working. But it's so powerful that it could be used for more than Survive the Wild. And I want to, I just kind of feel an urge to share it and see what people do with it. So I'm not ready to do that. Won't be for a while, but
there you go. You heard it from Sam. Like one day the STW engine may become available to further, to future developers. So that's something to be excited about.
I think at some point it's going to, It's, I got a lot of soul searching, a lot of deciding, but enough of me wants to do it that I can say that it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nice. And I got to say, as feedback here, out of all the games that have implemented microtransactions, I think you are the one that makes it probably the most reasonable.
I plan to try to make it a lot more reasonable than it is, in my opinion. So actually here, thank you. I feel like it's still too pay to win, in my opinion. And so I'm like, my long-term goal is that in this game, you can pay for like aesthetics and speed, but not something that's absurdly hard to get without paying,
right?
Or somebody gifting. Like it's a tricky thing because for several reasons it's tricky, including because people have already purchased stuff in the past. So I don't want to make them feel like it. So it's a whole thing, but I plan to make it a lot more reasonable, even
for sure.
It already is more fun.
Yeah, no, and that's great. That's wonderful to hear. And I know there's a lot of players who will be excited to know that. And as you further the beta along to get ready for public release. I mean, and I got to say, it's really respectable that you made the beta public. You don't see that a lot with some of these games. So you really opened up a positive can of worms for players to really get excited to, anticipate the next wave of features and releases. And what's really, it's funny. I remember trying Survive the Wild, I think for the first time. I want to say it was 2017 or 2018. It was around that time, and I could be wrong on timeline.
Such a different game.
I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I gave up after a day. I was just like, this is too hard. I can't do it. But, I regret it because now I picked it up earlier. I think it was in May or April, when I got my hands on it again, because a couple of friends
came out on May 12th. So
that's it. Yeah, so thank you. Around that time, yep. I picked it up and I was like, "Oh my god, what have I been missing?"
Well, you know what? All the stuff I would consider to be really good started in 2020. Like, you couldn't even tab from the keyboard area until May 2021, I believe. So, not too much, to be honest.
Right. Well, wow, man. Well, so transitioning from the game, I mean, what else is going on in life? Like, aside from Survive the Wild, are you on your own right now? Do you got that apartment? What's life look like?
So right now I'm with my parents again. I can't get an apartment yet. I plan to move out at some point again when I can.
Yeah.
Because there's some definite, small difficulties living here. I mean, I'm grateful to be able to, I don't have to pay anything to live here. So
yeah, and you can save your money. You can save, right. You can, build that up.
And so in that way, there's a lot of positives, but also I'm definitely excited to be able to wake up in the morning and know that the toaster is going to be in the same spot that it was last night.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. So, stability. Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
So I'm excited at that by that logic to get an apartment, I guess. But yeah. So I'm with my parents right now. I don't.
How's your family? Are they doing well too?
Yeah.
Good.
As far as I know, we're all pretty good. I don't think too much is going on. It really has been like I'm slowly learning Reaper. I want to get into music production, but I haven't really managed yet. Like, I have a keyboard that I don't know the model of that's in a position that's not very good to play.
Okay. I actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. I actually teach private Reaper lessons on the weekend.
Well, yeah, definitely. We might have
to get together and hang out. Yeah, let's get together.
I'm excited because, like, with Reaper, like, I can write race scripts for Reaper. Like, I can actually help the Osara development.
And that's huge.
And stuff like that.
That's huge.
So I'm very excited to combine audio production with programming. I'm so excited to see what kind of stuff I can do by doing that.
Bam. Next development goals right there. Love that.
Oh yeah. I have some plans. Like, yeah, I want to do a lot of stuff. I'm trying to learn Reaper, and I'm like, man, I want to make imagine just like randomly, just like imagine an envelope ring where you can go between the types of envelopes and maybe there's a way. You teach private Reaper lessons, you know more than me, but I just imagine so many interface things I could do, like a way to go between the different armed envelopes way easier than there already is. But not just that. Maybe I'm probably going ahead of myself by speaking of an idea that's not fully formed, but
that's okay. No, that's how ideas become reality in a lot of ways. I mean, the more you talk about it, the more excited you get, and just surrounding yourself with the right people who have the right minds. That's how we accomplish like the success. That's how we get there. So,
Yeah, no, I have a lot of ideas about how I could make Reaper's interface very interesting. Like, the whole not enough keyboard shortcuts problem is basically what I was getting at. Like, having a ring of actions where you can like left and right between previous action and next action, and
or categories even, because that's what I was thinking was just because as of right now, from what I've seen in Reaper, all that there really is when you press F4 is it brings you to that filter edit box, and that's it. You type it in, but imagine it was organized like the VST list is, right? Imagine if it was organized in such a similar way where you could categorize things from a table and then just have it show up in a list.
The only way to do that in any way is by customizing the menus. I don't know if you played around with that, but you can, like, I've got an effects. I can go to menu, greater insert, greater effects, greater ray EQ.
Oh, there you go. Nice. So, yeah, there you go. You got the string.
Yeah, I have, and I want to do tutorials on Reaper as well. Like because I have a lot of sound files, and I've spent hours and hours looking at Reaper's Media Explorer and figuring out ways for it to be used very easily. And it's like, I don't think the default configuration of the Media Explorer leads to the greatest amount of productivity for anybody. And so I don't even think many people use it very much as a result.
Sure.
I have all these ways to like improve it and stuff. I don't know. It's weird because I'm still learning Reaper. So there's still, like, I don't want to, at the same time, I don't want to make demos and then someone be like, hey, bro, you can just do this to do that. Because I recognize that that's going to happen. I don't want to pretend that I know, even as like the envelope point example. I know there's keys to go between envelope points. There's probably ones to go between armed envelopes too.
Sure. No, for sure. And there's actually really great resources available right now, and just in general for listeners, if you look up Reaper accessibility, there's an excellent wiki that's available that is community driven by just amazing developers, amazing instructors, and even IC Music. My friends over at IC Music, my friend Kevin, Brian, all you guys. And just the work, and Scott as well. Can't forget about him. Just the work that they do.
I've been listening to, I got access to the Reaper Dropbox folder. I have
Isn't it awesome?
I have 4.6 gigabytes of Reaper audio tutorials, and I've just been consuming them.
Oh, isn't it? It's so good. It's so good.
And I want to be clear about something. Before I picked up Reaper, I was using pretty much exclusively. I was using Studio Recorder by APH for 10 years.
Nice. Look at that.
Which is a single track, simple editor without even so much as an effects processor.
Well,
I went from that to Reaper at the end of 2022, and my mind was just blown.
It's a wild jump too, isn't it? It's a wild jump.
I want to add reverb to this file. Hold on, I'm going to save it and open it in Goldwave and add reverb to it and then reopen it.
Yeah. What I've always found really cool, and I was working with a student this morning who was finishing one of their first ever songs, and right now we're working on, just the general editing of a track, right? So how you can split things into multiple items. What I've found to be very fun about Reaper that is a little bit harder to do in Logic is that in Reaper, when you cut something from one item to two, you can actually put an effect, set up a chain of effects or just a simple effect on an individual item, right? With Logic, it's different because you actually, and I'm more of a Logic guru anyways, I'm learning more and more about Reaper, but in Logic, you have to actually export the region as its own individual track. So you have to take the next step further and export the track.
And then with Reaper, if you have an effect on an item already and then you split the item, you can have it duplicate the effect.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that twice. It's just so customizable.
It is.
I'm still getting used to the idea of gluing. That's something that with Studio Recorder, it's clean because you're dealing with one audio file and you never see all the temporary data. But with large multi-track editors, you often find yourself just I'll take an ambience track and I'll make a simple loop out of it by cross-fading the items.
Right.
I don't know anyone who knows that looping method for ambience tracks and stuff, but you just cross-fade those item lengths and you end up with two items. And I'm still getting comfortable with the idea of okay, now taking those two items and gluing them into a new file, even though there's hardly any reason other than getting the software to understand what I want from it.
Right.
That's my only hard thing that I'm trying to understand. It's just no, I just want to loop this section as one item. I don't feel like I should have to make a whole file on disk.
Yeah.
To do that. But
that
compared
makes perfect
to
sense.
Studio Recorder, I really shouldn't be complaining.
That's so funny, man. It's the same thing with me. For a long time, I was using GarageBand up until about 2015. And I remember getting my hands on Logic for the first time. And, you know, this is jumping from GarageBand 6.0.5. So this was before GarageBand adopted the same interface as Logic. So, you know, and Logic is just a monster. I mean, it has everything and anything that you can really think about, minus, you know, a couple of visual tools that are a little bit harder to use right now. But hey, Logic is doing really good things for improvements to accessibility. But yeah, it also
matters when they care.
Yeah, it matters when they care, 100%. So, wow, I mean, we've covered Constant Motion, Survive the Wild, you know, just these, like, everything and anything under the sun. You know, there's a lot of new developers right now coming up, and students that I've helped mentor who've looked to you as a motivator, right? As kind of just one of those pioneers in the audio game space, and even in the programming space in general. If you had a few great pieces of advice, and I know you've got some stuff in your noggin, come on now. If you could share with newer developers, you know, who are coming up in Python, who are coming up in BGT or any of these, you know, programming languages, what would you share with them as far as just motivation is concerned?
I think one thing on my mind that came up, this happened because I was like reading the audio games forum like a little bit recently to see what was going on there. And the thing that I thought as I was reading this forum is I was like, man, I'm so glad I just came out with my stuff instead of asking what direction should I take from a bunch of people who are not developing my project. Like, I think asking for advice is a great thing in measure, right?
Right, like in the right space.
Right, but you have to, like, I think that had I asked, and I'm not just trying to diss that particular forum, but if I had asked too public a group of programmers just an opinion, hey, how should I get started? What language should I use? Well, the truth is that so many different languages work for so many different people. You're going to get so many different answers. And I would just hate to see somebody get bombarded by all those answers and not truly start. And so it kind of makes me thank God that I just started. Like, I just made a forum account and I just released this game suite thing that was really terrible. But because of that, because I chose something and stuck with it, I kind of went somewhere. Like, I kind of managed to keep going, I guess, rather than getting distracted by, like, I guess in the shortest form, don't let yourself fall to indecision. Ooh. I don't know. It's hard.
There's a quote in there, not to interrupt, but there was a quote that I had read in a book that I'm studying right now, and it says, "There is more lost with indecision than making the wrong decision."
Yeah, you know, I think there's, because even when I tell people about, you know, like my games and stuff, oh yeah, all the things that I'm doing right now, almost everything that I'm doing right, that's only because I've done it wrong before.
Yeah. That's Amen. Right now. Amen, bro. Well, that's it. Like, right there. Like, the only way we can get to the point of progress is by trial and error, not being afraid to make every little mistake along the way. Hey, I don't want to do this. What do I do? You know, and I agree. I also agree. And this is the same thing I tell anyone who asks me, you know, how do I pick up guitar? How do I learn Logic? How do I do all these things? And it's, do your homework. You know, at the end of the day, do your homework. I'll get you started. Right. And here's an hour-long video that I did on YouTube. Go watch that and, you know, study that, and then sit for 3 hours on a weekend when you have some time and just absorb that information. Stop worrying about what other people are going to think of it and actually develop your own intuition.
Right. I got an email from somebody one time and they were like, hey, I want to know, how do I host servers and all this stuff? And I kind of I gave them a lot of general server is generally defined as this, hosting is generally defined as that. But then I told them, I was like, listen, Google has flagged me as a robot before I've made so many queries a day.
Look at this guy. There you go. And now we have Chat GPT. Come on.
And I need to reply to the. I'm terrible at replying to messages, but this dude
I know you are.
A few months later. Yeah.
I love you, man. I'm just playing.
Sometimes I imagine the creator like designing my skill tree and just kind of like an RPG, just being like, we're gonna take time management, cut programming, paste.
Oh, that's so funny. I remember it was so funny. This was so long ago, you know what I mean? But it's like people change in time. But I remember when we were hanging out in 2018, and there was a couple points where I tried getting your attention, and you're just like, Sam! Hello? Sam!
Yeah, it is really bad, dude. If I don't
Too funny.
Because I make the mistake of like taking a break from my work to check a message and then being like, oh, no, responding to that message would be so distracting. I wouldn't be able to keep working. So then I go back to my work and then I've forgotten about the message. Recipe for disaster every single time. So,
like, what's your, like, have you thought about, so there's this little resource I want to share with you. And I found out through it, I'm not being able to word right now. I just drank an entire cup of coffee, so I'm wired. But like,
that's a great idea. I got coffee right here.
Amen. There you go. Take advantage of the situation. Yeah. But there was a TED Talk I watched a couple of years ago, right when I was getting into my career as a teacher, and she's this like emergency room supervisor. So she's like a busy woman, okay, and she talked about when you prioritize goals and tasks, you need to mark them as being code red, code blue, code black, all of these different methodologies. So, your code your code blues are like, I got to do this now. This needs to be done or else. Code reds are like, okay, I'll have to get to this after I'm done with this code blue. And then, of course, code blacks are, there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to move on. And it like prioritizing and writing things down has saved my life on many occasions as an instructor and while doing this content creation stuff, because if I didn't have this to-do list in my email or my brailled out lists that I make every day, like my mind would be just this chaotic tornado. And it was for so many years, it really was.
Honest, like I've been thinking about making myself a little to-do list program that but I was just going to have one list, but I think that's a very good idea. I think if I make it, I'll have 3 lists.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? And it's only for you. That's the thing, is like, you're only doing this for you and you alone, so that you can like maintain and like, just mental taxing, really. Because like you as top tier developer, you're busy. You've got so many tickets, so many bugs, so many, complaints or comments, that there's a lot of stuff to go through. And I think like in so many ways, as we grow, right? As we grow and we become successful in our crafts and we become more masterful in the areas that we pursue, we need to, keep that management in check, because we're people too.
Yeah, no, it's one of my biggest weaknesses is time management in general, and then it affects my sleep and it affects other things. So
oh yeah, for
sure. That's one thing I need to, and I mean, that's a good, I've been slow, like, eventually I'm going to get to that point in my brain where I finally just set up a to-do list that I can stick with. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's just going to get painful enough someday. I'm sure you know how it is.
I do.
You know what?
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just F it. Fine. I'll do it now.
Literally. So yeah, all this to say that I hadn't replied to because this dude had emailed me months after I had given him that advice, and he asked me just a few really good questions, and I was like, wow, that was awesome to read. And that's what I hadn't replied to, and I feel bad about that, and I need to get back to him. But my whole point was, like he chose to do it. I think he chose to look stuff up on his own and keep figuring stuff out after, because it was just comparing those 2 emails from the first to the second. And like I look at some of the music, soundimage.org in particular, for example, he clearly says on his website he contacted one person. Like he didn't use the number one, but he said he contacted Kevin MacLeod. Out of all, I think that was he contacted Kevin MacLeod and maybe slightly others, but he said that's how he learned, was by contacting, like by keeping his stream of advice small. I think is kind of
well, and it's choosing your mentors, right? Like taking advice from the people that you know are going to give you sound advice from a real place. And that's huge right there. Hold on. That reminds me, when I was in therapy, and I still am, just for that.
I actually just started.
Oh, congratulations. Right on. Good for you. No shame in that. But when I first started going to therapy in 2019, there was this motivational video that kept playing while I was waiting for my session to start out in the waiting room. And it was this, really, high class gal who grown up in a, lower income environment. But one of the things that she talked about was the 5 pillars in your life, right? You've got the mentor, the friend, the cheerleader, the coach, and the professor, right? Like just these like tier people that you go to for very specific and necessary needs to improve your life. Because in our society, we live on this level of you need to do it yourself, which is contradicting to what we just talked about. So I think there's like this balance and moderation, right? But like you have these tier people that you run to. For example, when I need life advice, I only run to 2 people. Only 2 people. Only 2. Mm-hmm. My boss, who is an amazing guy, who's been through way more than I can imagine, and then my wife. That's it. Those are the only 2 people I go to when I need advice, because those are the 2 people that know me the most.
Right. No, that makes, and I think it's just like I actually like I ask my mom about a lot of things still, and I think that's good because I recognize that she's a lot older than me and she's gone through a lot of things.
That's huge. Yeah. I bet your mom's got a lot of great things to say, and it sounds like you guys might be close, and that's huge right there.
Yeah. I definitely don't, like, I keep the personal things I share, when I need something, I only ask a very small number of people. But I think that should be true when you're doing creative stuff too. Oh, yeah. Because otherwise you'll get bogged down with opinions.
Oh, yeah. I learned my lesson the hard way. I learned my lesson the hard way about asking people and being sometimes being too nice or being too out there in a community, because not everyone is out to be your friend, right? And not everyone is out to be, your number one support system. It's just how it is. Mm-hmm. So, no, that's great. I love it.
There's something I was going to say, can't remember.
Story of my life.
I'd be like, yeah, I had a little bit more advice to give.
But there you go. It's Sam's advice to all, just do it yourself. Learn by trial and error.
That's and don't huge. I think, and allow yourself to be okay with your mistakes. Like I think that's what I was going to mention. Like I mentioned this briefly earlier, but it's hard to reconcile with, like, you create something and you think it's cool, then 2 years later you look back and you don't think it's so cool anymore because you've learned. And that right there is where it could go wrong. You could either be like, oh, that's not cool, so obviously I'm not that good at this. Or you can decide, oh, I've obviously learned since then, so this is, great.
Yeah. Get back up syndrome, get back, get back up. You fall off, wipe that dirt off your knees and just go get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, don't be afraid of doing it wrong.
Don't be afraid of doing it wrong. That's good.
Like, it's hard. Like, there's so many, like, I've heard it from a couple people now, like, oh, yeah, I really want to start coding, but I'm afraid that I'm going to get halfway down the path and then bump into a wall and have to backtrack.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's definitely part of it, man. That, it's kind of like, being afraid that you got to lift a board to build a house.
Yeah. There you go.
Part of it, having it go back like that. So,
all right, man. Well, let's wrap things up. Thanks everybody for listening to the episode. Sam, you're a good friend. You're very much loved and appreciated in our community, as I'm sure you may know, and just keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing.
Thanks.
Yeah. Let's get you on a YouTube stream. I think it'd be really fun sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get you on a stream.
This has been great.
Yeah. All right, guys, until next time, stay groovy and always know that you are loved and that you matter.
GreatNonprofits.org is a 501c3 nonprofit. Great Nonprofits helps people focus on making good giving decisions based on socially sourced feedback and reviews. Go to www.greatnonprofits.org and type in your zip code or city to find a charity or nonprofit near you that you can help.